If you had asked me a few years ago who my ride or die best friend was, I wouldn't have hesitated for even a second. It was always Amanda. She was the kind of friend who'd show up at my dorm room at home with Taco Bell because I was crying after a breakup. The girl who remembered every inside joke we'd ever made and texted me memes at random hours that could pull me out of the darkest mood. We'd been inseparable since college. And even though life had pushed us into different cities, different jobs, and eventually different circles, I always thought that bond was unbreakable. So when I got the thick, cream-colored envelope in the mail with her name elegantly scrawled across the front, my heart practically leapt. Her wedding invitation. I already knew she was engaged. She'd called me crying when her boyfriend proposed, and I'd squealed on the phone with her like we were teenagers again. But something about holding that invitation in my hands made it feel real. My best friend was getting married. I tore it open with shaky fingers and smiled at the gold embossed lettering inside. A beach wedding, destination style, all in Florida. Her fiancé, Matt, was nice enough when I'd met him, more reserved than Amanda, but I figured they balanced each other out. Then, tucked inside the invitation, was a handwritten note. It wasn't just the standard, "I'd love for you to be there" type of note. No, it was several paragraphs long. And as I read it, my heart started beating in that weird, uneasy rhythm you get when you know something's off, but you're not sure what. She started with, "I need to ask you for something big." Apparently, one of her bridesmaids, her cousin, had dropped out at the last minute. Family drama. Something about money and schedules. Amanda didn't go into detail, but the gist was this. She didn't want her pictures to look uneven for groomsmen. 3 bridesmaids, according to her. That was unacceptable, and so she wrote she needed me to step in. At first, I laughed, like really laughed, because I thought she was joking. I mean, I wasn't even originally in the wedding party. I'd mentally prepared myself to show up as a guest, sit with mutual friends, maybe do a reading if she asked, but a bridesmaid at the last minute. Still, I wasn't opposed. Honestly, a part of me was even flattered. I'd seen all the Instagram posts of her dress fittings, the baccalaureate parties with the bridal party, and yeah, it had stuck a little to be left out. Now, maybe this was her way of saying, "You're important to me too." But then my eyes hit the last part of her note, and my stomach sank. She wrote, "It will be about $1,700 in total, but don't worry, it covers everything you need to be a proper bridesmaid." I know it's an investment, but it means the world to me. I blinked, then reread it. $1,700, not $17, not even $170. $1,700. For what? The note continued with bullet points, like some sort of invoice. Bridesmaid dress custom, from a boutique she picked for $100. Professional hair and makeup to $150. Shoes, jewelry, accessories $150. Travel and hotel, she had a block booking at a resort $600. Bridesmaid contribution to baccalaureate party and wedding extras $300. Total $1,700. I sat on my couch staring at that number like it was some kind of cruel joke. I'm not poor, but I'm not exactly rolling in money either. I live paycheck to paycheck, like most people in their late 20s trying to juggle rent, student loans, and groceries that somehow cost more every week. $1,700 wasn't just, oh, that's pricey. It was devastating. It was my rent and my car payment combined. But the worst part wasn't even the money. It was the way she wrote it. So casual, like it was no big deal. Like dropping nearly $2,000 to stand in a dress for a few hours was just normal. I remember calling my mom right after reading it. I was pacing in my apartment, clutching the invitation like it might burst into flames. "She wants me to pay what?" I half shouted into the phone. My mom, ever the practical one, sighed. "Honey, you don't owe her this. Being a bridesmaid shouldn't cost you your savings. You can just say no." But that was the problem. Saying no to Amanda had never been easy for me. Our friendship had always been lopsided. She was the star of every room she walked into, and I was the quiet, steady one in the background, the supporter, the listener, the yes person. I told myself it wasn't just about money. It was about her big day, the one she'd dreamed of since we were 19. Sitting in our dorm room watching, "Say yes to the dress." I remembered how she'd whispered back then, "One day, that'll be me." So how could I, her supposed best friend, tell her no now? I went to bed that night with the invitation on my nightstand, staring at it in the dark. My chest felt heavy. My rational brain screamed, "This is insane. Don't do it." But my heart whispered, "It's Amanda. She's your best friend. You can't let her down." By the time morning came, I already knew what I was going to do. I texted her, "Of course, I'll do it. Anything for you." And with those words, I had no idea I just signed myself up for one of the most expensive and emotionally draining experiences of my life. When I said yes, Amanda responded almost immediately. Her text was a flurry of exclamation marks and heart emojis. "OMG, you're saving me. You're the best. I knew I could count on you." For a second, I felt a little glow of pride. Maybe this was how bridesmaids were supposed to feel: important, needed, part of something big. But before I could even process that, another text came in. "Okay, so here's the breakdown of what you'll need to pay for. I'll send you the links tonight. Don't wait too long to order because things are selling out fast." And then the floodgates opened. Link after link after link. The dress, $399 plus $45 shipping. It wasn't ugly, but it wasn't anything I'd ever wear again. Floor length pastel peach, a color that made my pale skin look like I had the flu. The shoes, $145. Silver heels with rhinestones. Beautiful, maybe comfortable, not in a million years. The jewelry, another $75 for matching earrings and a necklace set. Then came the hair and makeup. She'd already booked a professional team that was mandatory for all bridesmaids, no exceptions. $250 for an up-to package and airbrushed foundation. Hotel stay, $600 for 3 nights at the beachfront resort she'd chosen. I googled it and nearly fell off my chair. It looked gorgeous, sure, but $200 a night. That was more than I paid for my apartment. She insisted the block booking was non-negotiable, and the kicker, a $300 contribution for the baccalaureate party and miscellaneous extras. When I asked what extras meant, she casually said, "Oh, you know, decorations, matching ropes, maybe a champagne tower." I sat there, staring at the total, my throat dry. The math didn't lie. It came to just over $1,700. I pulled out my budget notebook, the one I kept tucked away in a drawer. Rent, $1,050. Car payment, $300. Groceries, $250. Student loans, $200. Utilities and phone, $150. That left me with, what, maybe $50 at the end of the month on a good one. And now I was about to dump $1,700 into a single weekend. I tried to tell myself it wasn't all bad. "It's her wedding," I whispered like a mantra. "This is what people do." I even Googled, how much does it cost to be a bridesmaid? Dozens of articles popped up. Average cost, between $1,001 My stomach turned. Was this really normal? Was I just being cheap? But the truth was, I didn't have the money. Not sitting in my bank account. Not hidden in a savings stash. Not anywhere. I did what any desperate millennial would do. I pulled out my credit card. Swipe now, cry later. I ordered the dress, bought the shoes, reserved the hotel. Each confirmation email felt like a punch to the gut. My credit card balance ballooned overnight. Meanwhile, Amanda acted like nothing was unusual. She texted me updates constantly. "Don't forget your Sprayton appointment. Oh, we're doing matching pedicures to 60. No biggie. Bridesmaids are also splitting the cost of my bridal shower cake. It'll be like $80 each." I tried to hide my panic, tried to sound cheerful in my replies, because what was I going to say? "Hey, I can't afford this." I'd look like the worst friend in the world. But the resentment started building quietly, like a slow leak in a balloon. Every time I swiped my card, a little piece of me deflated. My roommate noticed first. One night, she walked into the kitchen while I was hunched over my laptop, glaring at yet another invoice. "Why do you look like you're filing taxes?" she joked, pouring a glass of wine. I sighed so hard it rattled the papers on the table. "Because I basically am. Amanda's wedding is bankrupting me." She raised an eyebrow. "How much are we talking?" When I said the number, she nearly spit her wine across the counter. $1,700? Are you insane?" "Apparently," I muttered. She set the glass down with a sharp clink. "Babe, that's not friendship. That's a scam." Her words stuck, but they echoed what I was already thinking. Still, guilt wrapped around me like a straitjacket. Amanda and I had been through so much together. When her dad died, I was the one who stayed up all night on the phone with her. When I had my first big job interview, she was the one who mailed me a "you got this" mug. How could I put a price tag on years of friendship? So, I swallowed my pride. I kept telling myself it was worth it. That once I was standing on that beach, watching her walk down the aisle with the ocean behind her, all the money would feel insignificant. But deep down, I already knew the truth. This wasn't about celebrating love. This was about appearances. About Instagram-worthy photos and curated perfection. And I was the sucker footing the bill. By the time the wedding weekend finally rolled around, I was already running on fumes financially and emotionally. My credit card balance was maxed out. I'd borrowed $100 from my mom just in case, and my nerves were frayed from weeks of frantic planning, buying, and pretending like everything was fine. I boarded the plane to Florida with a pit in my stomach. The flight itself wasn't bad, but every time the flight attendant offered snacks, all I could think was, that's another $5 I don't have. When I landed, I dragged my carry-on to the resort Amanda had chosen. And I'll give her this, it was beautiful. Towering palm trees lined the entrance. The ocean was a sparkling turquoise just beyond the pool, and every corner looked like it had been designed for an Instagram photo shoot. For a moment, I tried to convince myself, okay, maybe this will all be worth it. That illusion shattered the moment I checked in. Hi, welcome to Ocean Pearl Resort. That'll be $200 per night, plus resort fees. The receptionist chirped. Resort fees, I croaked. Of course, $35 a night. It covers Wi-Fi, beach towels, and gym access. Wi-Fi and towels for $35 a night. I slid my card across the counter with a fake smile. While inside, my soul was screaming. When I got to my room, Amanda had already texted me, hurry, we're doing a bridesmaid's dinner in 30 minutes. Be downstairs in the peach dress. I barely had time to shower before slipping into that pastel monstrosity I paid nearly $400 for. I met the other bridesmaids in the lobby, and right away, I felt like an outsider. They were all Amanda's new friends, sorority sisters, co-workers from her corporate job, girls I'd seen tagged in her Instagram stories, but had never met in real life. They were perfectly polished, laughing loudly, clinking glasses of champagne like they'd stepped straight out of a reality TV show. Hey, you must be the stand-in. One of them squealed, hugging me without waiting for permission. Stand-in. The word sliced deeper than I expected. I wasn't even a real bridesmaid in their eyes. Just a replacement. Dinner was at some beachfront restaurant where everything on the menu cost at least $30. I ordered the cheapest appetizer I could find and a glass of water, but the waiter still looked disappointed when he set it down. Meanwhile, the others ordered cocktails like they were free samples. Amanda made a dramatic entrance halfway through the meal, her hair styled in perfect curls, her skin glowing from a fresh spray tan. The whole table cheered, like royalty had arrived. She plopped down next to me, gave me a quick air kiss, and launched into a rant about how stressed she was. The flowers weren't the right shade of ivory. The DJ wasn't answering his phone. Her fiancé's MOM was being a total witch. I sat there nodding, murmuring reassurances, while inside I thought, this is insane. Why am I here? The next 2 days were a blur of chaos. Friday was rehearsal day. We spent hours on the beach, lined up under the scorching sun while Amanda barked orders. No, 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 you need to step exactly on beat with the music. Hold your bouquet higher. Smile more. By the third run through, sweat was dripping down my back, and my shoes had filled with sand. Then came the errands. At one point, Amanda shoved a list into my hands. Can you run to the store? We're out of champagne, and I need nail glue. Oh, and grab some more sunscreen for the flower girl. I blinked. Shouldn't someone else? She cut me off with a sharp please. I can't trust anyone else to do it right. So there I was, $87 poorer, lugging shopping bags back to the resort, while the others lounged by the pool with pina coladas. That night was the rehearsal dinner. Amanda gave a toast thanking everyone in her bridal party by name except me. I sat there, smiling stiffly, clapping with everyone else, my chest tight. The final straw came Saturday morning, the day of the wedding. We were up at AM for hair and makeup. The stylist tugged and twisted my hair into an updo so tight my scalp burned. The makeup artist caked on layers until I barely recognized myself. Price tag. Another $250 when I glanced in the mirror. I wanted to cry. I looked like a knockoff Barbie doll dipped in orange foundation. Then, as we were about to head down for photos, Amanda freaked out. Where's the bride's emergency kit? She shrieked. The scissors. The safety pins, where are they? The room went silent. All eyes turned to me. Didn't you grab it from my mom's room? She demanded. I didn't know I was supposed to, I stammered. Her face twisted in anger. Unbelievable. Do I have to do everything myself? I wanted to disappear. Somehow, I scrambled and found the kit just in time, but the damage was done. She snapped at me the rest of the morning. Every little thing suddenly my fault. As I stood there, sweating in that hideous peach dress, holding a bouquet that was already wilting. I realized something. I wasn't Amanda's best friend anymore. I was her employee, and I had paid $1,700 for the privilege of being treated like garbage. The morning of the wedding felt like a marathon I hadn't trained for. I'd been up since AM, shuttled between makeup chairs, hairsprays, and endless demands. Amanda barked orders like a drill sergeant while photographers buzzed around us like paparazzi. Every time I dared to sit down, someone snapped their fingers. Hold this, fetch that, fix this. By noon, my head was pounding. My shoes had already blistered my feet, and I'd spent more time worrying about Amanda's veil than about myself. But the real breaking point came an hour before the ceremony. We were all lined up outside the suite where Amanda was getting ready, bouquets in hand, waiting for instructions. Suddenly, Amanda stormed out of the room, her dress swishing dramatically behind her, face flushed with rage. "WHO moved my lipstick," she screamed. Everyone froze. Her eyes darted around before landing squarely on me. "It was you, wasn't it?" I blinked. I didn't touch it. Don't lie to me," she hissed, her voice trembling with fury. "It was right here, and now it's gone. Do you have any idea how important this shade is for photos?" The other bridesmaids stayed silent, shifting uncomfortably. No one dared to speak. I felt my chest tighten, my cheeks burn. After days of bending over backwards for her, of draining my savings, of running errands like her unpaid assistant, she was accusing me of stealing lipstick. And something inside me finally snapped. "Are you serious right now?" I said, my voice louder than I expected. Amanda blinked, clearly stunned that I talked back. "Excuse me, I've done nothing but help you all weekend," I said, shaking, my words tumbling out faster now. "I've spent over $1,700 I don't even have. I've run errands, I've skipped meals just to keep up with your insane demands. And you're yelling at me about lipstick?" Gasps rippled through the room. The other bridesmaids stared at me wide-eyed, as if they'd just witnessed someone curse in church. Amanda's face hardened. "How dare you make this about money? This is my wedding, my one special day, and you are standing there acting like a victim." I felt the tears sting my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. "You asked me to stand in because you didn't want your pictures to look uneven. You didn't ask because you wanted me there. You've treated me like a prop, like I don't matter at all." For a moment, silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. Amanda's lip curled. "If you can't handle being a bridesmaid, maybe you shouldn't have said yes." I laughed bitterly. "You're right. I shouldn't have." The room went dead still. Amanda's mother appeared in the doorway then, holding the missing lipstick. "It was on the bathroom counter," she said quietly. The air shifted. Amanda flushed bright red, but instead of apologizing, she turned back to me, eyes flashing. "I can't believe you'd embarrass me like this. On my wedding day. Unbelievable." Something in me broke right then. The years of loyalty, the late-night calls, the birthday surprises, the little ways I'd shown up for her time and time again, they all crumbled like ash. I lowered my bouquet. "Good luck, Amanda," I whispered, and stepped out of the line. Gasps again. One of the bridesmaids muttered, "Holy crap, I didn't care." I walked straight out of that suite, down the hall, out the glass doors of the resort, and onto the beach. The salty wind hit my face, and for the first time all weekend, I could breathe. I sat on the sand, barefoot, beach dress pulling around me like a costume I wanted to rip off. The ceremony music drifted faintly from behind me, but I didn't turn back. Somewhere inside that resort, Amanda was walking down the aisle, cameras flashing, her perfect wedding unfolding without me. And for the first time since I'd said yes, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free, but also I felt heartbroken. Because in that moment, I knew I hadn't just walked away from a wedding. I'd walked away from a friendship that had defined a huge part of my life, and nothing was ever going to be the same again. The beach was quiet after the wedding music faded. I sat there for nearly an hour, letting the sun dip lower into the horizon, sand sticking to my dress, my heart pounding with equal parts guilt and relief. I hadn't planned to leave. Not really. But once I'd said the words, "Good luck, Amanda," there was no turning back. When I finally went back inside the resort to grab my bag, the ceremony was already underway. Guests were seated, the music was playing, and Amanda was probably flashing her perfect smile for the photographer. I slipped out the side door unnoticed, my suitcase dragging behind me. I didn't stay for the reception. I didn't dance. I didn't toast. I didn't even get a piece of cake. Instead, I booked an Uber back to my hotel, not the fancy resort Amanda had chosen, but the budget one 10 minutes away that I could barely afford. That night, I stared at the ceiling in my hotel room, replaying every detail of the past few days, the rehearsals, the accusations, the looks on the other bridesmaids' faces, the $1,700 already sitting as a fresh wound on my credit card statement, and the fact that my so-called best friend hadn't even noticed me leave. The next morning, my phone buzzed. For a brief moment, I thought maybe it was Amanda. Maybe she had realized how harsh she'd been. Maybe she was ready to apologize. But no, it was a text from one of the bridesmaids. Amanda's furious. She said you ruined the photos and made the whole day stressful. People are talking. I stared at the screen, my stomach churning. Ruined the photos. That's what I was reduced to. Not a friend, not a human being with feelings. Just an accessory that didn't show up in the background of her fairy tale wedding. I didn't reply. I couldn't. Back home, the silence was deafening. Amanda didn't call. She didn't text. She didn't check if I got home safely. Instead, I saw her honeymoon pictures pop up on Instagram, smiling on the beach with her new husband. Champagne glasses raised. Hashtags like hashtag best day ever and hashtag dream come true. I scrolled through the comments. Beautiful bride. Best wedding ever. So happy for you guys. But not a single trace of me. No candid shots. No mentions. It was like I had never even been there. And maybe, in her mind, I hadn't. The financial weight hit me next. My credit card bill arrived, cold and merciless. $1,732 for $5. A dress I'd never wear again. Shoes that still had blisters imprinted on my skin. A hotel I'd barely slept in. Hair and makeup that melted off in the Florida humidity. A bride's meals I bought for Amanda when she was too busy to eat. Every penny sat there in black and white. A reminder that loyalty had come with an actual price tag. And I was the one paying it. My MOM noticed me brooding at dinner one night and asked, "Sweetheart, was it worth it?" I wanted to say yes. I wanted to believe that standing by Amanda on her special day had been a gesture of love, of friendship, of history between us. But instead, I just shook my head. No, it wasn't. Friends who heard the story had mixed reactions. Some said, "Wow, that's messed up. She totally used you." Others tried to defend her. Weddings are stressful. Brides act crazy. You should cut her some slack. But deep down, I knew the truth. This wasn't just wedding stress. This wasn't a bridezilla moment. This was who Amanda had become, someone who saw friendship as a transaction. Someone who measured loyalty in dollars and feathers, not love and support. And I finally saw it for what it was. Weeks passed. I didn't hear from Amanda once. Then, out of the blue, I got a message from her, not a call, not an apology, just a text. "Hey, can you Venmo me $50? We're splitting the photographer tip." I laughed out loud. Not a warm laugh, a bitter, hollow laugh that echoed through my empty apartment. I didn't reply. I deleted the message. And for the first time, I blocked her number. It hurt. God, it hurt. Losing a best friend isn't like breaking up with a boyfriend. There are no rules, no scripts, no playlists to help you move on. It's just silence. Empty space where daily texts and inside jokes used to be. But I also felt lighter, because walking away from Amanda, as painful as it was, also meant walking away from someone who didn't value me. I'd rather sit alone in my tiny apartment, sipping coffee from a chipped mug, than stand in a peach bridesmaid dress, holding a bouquet for someone who saw me as nothing more than a filler. That night, I sat down with my journal and wrote, "Sometimes the cost of friendship is too high. Sometimes the price tag isn't in dollars, it's in dignity, self-respect, and peace of mind. And when that happens, the bravest thing you can do is walk away." And for the first time since Amanda's invitation had arrived in the mail, I finally felt like I could breathe again.